The Ottoman Empire was one of the greatest dynasties in world history. The Ottomans ruled large areas of the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and North Africa for more than 600 years. Their leader, known as the Sultan, was given absolute rule over his people. Many Western Europeans generally viewed the Ottomans as a threat, yet historians regard the Ottomans as a source of great regional stability and security, as well as having important achievements in the arts, science, religion, and culture. Their advancements to become a military titan, we remember them as. The Ottomans recognized from the start that they needed to establish an independent army that strayed away from the various religions, cultures, and ethnic groups. This new army stayed under the direct control of the Sultan and was financed by the treasury. This ensured that his army was loyal only to the Sultan and not to the other groups. The Ottoman army was also bolstered by the Janissaries.
The Ottomans actually got their first firearms from what was most likely the Balkans in the 1380s. By 1444, the Ottoman Empire used cannons for castle defense in the Balkans, on their boats, as well as on the battlefield itself. Along with this, they also used early rifles called arquebuses. Their early uses of gunpowder weaponry was key in their military pursuits.
The Ottomans were quite successful in integrating gunpowder technology into their empire. They established central and permanent troops specialized in the manufacturing and handling of firearms, well before permanent units appeared in the armies of their opponents. The Ottomans employed specially trained gunners and gun carriage drivers called top Sus and top Arabicularii, respectively. These units were integral to the Sultan's military force, with the gunners' numbers steadily increasing from 348 in 1514 to 695 in 1527, and ultimately to 2,827 in 1598. Adding on to their firepower, the Janissaries were equipped with matchlock arquebuses, or a gun with a built-in tripod or stand. The Ottoman Empire integrated gunpowder into their military and remained a powerhouse in its region.
After the first successful use of these cannons, where the Ottomans defended themselves from a fleet of crusaders from the coast, they decided to step up their production. They were to place a large arsenal along the shores opposite of the Anatolian castle, the only thing stopping them from crossing into Europe. With the help of 200 artillery gunners, 400 arquebusiers, and a staggering 5,000 cavalrymen, the castle crumbled to the Ottomans, where they finally crossed into Europe. The Ottomans continued to use their firepower against their many upcoming sieges and even used handguns by the Second Battle of Kosovo. With every battle won, the more firepower they had. Along the way, the Ottoman Empire picked up a tactic from one of their enemies known as the Wagenburg tactic, which used fortified carts that were chained together in a line, manned with crossbows and firearms. This was a defensive technique that allowed them to easily move up their defenses after gaining ground and provided them with cover that would typically not be there. When faced against this tactic, the Ottomans learned that all they had to do was surround them outside their gunners' range and wait them out. They improved this technique by making deep, well-fortified entrenchments that held their troops, one of the earliest cases of trench warfare. Their ability to quickly seize and produce firearms, as well as adapt useful techniques to their own advantage, enabled them to complete conquest that was, at the time, unmatched.
One of the best demonstrations of the Ottoman Empire's military prowess was during the Siege of Constantinople in 1453. In the lead-up to the attack, Sultan Mehmet II spent several months taking control of several key cities and towns along supply lines to Constantinople in an attempt to stop aid from coming to the city before the attack. Mehmet then moved his massive army of between 85 to 165,000 troops outside the walls of Constantinople and began bombarding the city with artillery cannons for nearly 7 weeks straight. One of the key players in this bombardment was Orban, a colossal cannon that was capable of firing 1,200-pound, 2-foot diameter cannonballs a distance of roughly 1 mile. This cannon unfortunately could only be fired 7 times a day. However, its devastating firepower would destroy anything that it was pointed towards, and was used to destroy large portions of the wall surrounding Constantinople. During the Siege of Constantinople, the Ottoman navy were struggling to enter the Golden Horn due to a large chain that the Byzantines had set up to block entrance to the Gulf. To get around this, Mehmet had a genius idea: just go around. To do this, he had his engineers build a road that crossed from the Bosphorus Strait to the Golden Horn, and then used a team of oxen to pull 72 ships on greased rollers along the road behind the Byzantine defenses. Upon seeing the Ottoman ships suddenly behind the defenses, Byzantine troops were noted as being, quote, astounded at the impossibility of the spectacle and were overtaken by the greatest consternation and perplexity. Through the combination of all the ingenious tactics used and their superior firepower of the Ottoman army, Constantinople finally fell under Ottoman control on May 28, 1453.
In the end, the thing that the Ottomans did best came down to two things: adapt and innovate. They looked at what their enemies did well, and like any military, they tried to figure out how to beat it. But they also did more than that. They ran with those ideas and made them better for their own uses. Not only did they do this with firearms, but with military techniques as well, making them one of the strongest empires of their time.